Imagine standing on a stage in front of the whole world, ready to become a billionaire, and then watching your entire company delete itself in 5 seconds. This is Mark. He is the CEO of the hottest new tech startup in Silicon Valley. He loves the fame, the cameras, and the money. He thinks he built his empire all by himself. So, exactly 24 hours before his company goes public on the stock market, he makes a cold calculation. He decides to divorce his boring wife, Sarah, and fire her from the company so he doesn't have to share his fortune with her. He hands her a check, tells her she is useless, and kicks her out. But Mark made the most expensive mistake in history. He forgot to check who actually built his app. He didn't know that his quiet wife was actually the secret genius who wrote every single line of code. And when he fired her, he unknowingly triggered a secret dead man's switch that she installed years ago. Here is the satisfying story of how an arrogant CEO tried to steal all the credit, but ended up begging his ex-wife to take $500 million just to answer a phone call. Mark was the kind of guy who believed his own hype, because he was the one doing the interviews and magazine covers. He convinced himself that he was the only reason the company existed. He looked at Sarah, who sat in a dark corner of the office in a hoodie, typing away for 14 hours a day, and he didn't see a partner. He saw an employee, and a boring one at that. He wanted a wife who looked good on a yacht, not one who talked about server maintenance. So, on the Tuesday before the IPO, Mark made his move. He walked into Sarah's office with a team of lawyers behind him. He dropped a stack of papers on her desk and said, "Sarah, let's be honest, you don't fit in my world anymore. I'm taking the company public tomorrow, and I need a fresh start. Here is a severance check for $100,000. Sign the divorce papers, pack your things, and get out." He expected her to scream. He expected her to beg. But Sarah didn't shed a single tear. She just adjusted her glasses, looked at him with a strange calmness, and signed the papers. She packed her laptop, handed him her security badge, and whispered, "Good luck, Mark. You're going to need it." Mark laughed as she walked out. He thought he had just cut loose dead weight. He had no idea he had just unplugged the machine. The next morning was supposed to be the best day of Mark's life. He was standing on the balcony of the stock exchange, surrounded by cameras and flashing lights, waiting to ring the opening bell. The stock price was projected to skyrocket, and he was minutes away from becoming a billionaire. He raised a glass of champagne, smiled at the press, and thought, "I did this." But exactly 10 minutes before the market opened, the celebration turned into a funeral. The giant monitors behind him flickered and went black. Then a massive red text appeared. "System failure. Fatal error." Panic swept through the room like a fire. Phones started ringing everywhere. Investors were screaming. The app had deleted itself from millions of phones instantly. The website was gone. The servers were dead. Mark sprinted backstage, sweat pouring down his face, and kicked open the door to the server room. He grabbed his head engineer by the collar. "What is happening? Turn it back on. We are losing millions every second." The engineer was typing furiously, his face pale as a ghost. He looked up at Mark with terror in his eyes. "We can't, sir," he stammered. "The code isn't just broken. It's locked. The system has triggered a security protocol called a dead man's switch. It thinks the admin is dead, so it locked everyone out to prevent a hack." "Override it," Mark screamed, his voice cracking with panic. "I don't care about protocols. Break the code. We are live in 5 minutes." The engineer shook his head helplessly. "It's impossible, sir. The encryption is military grade. The only way to unlock it is with the biometric thumbprint of the creator. It needs a scan right now, or the database wipes itself forever." "Fine," Mark yelled, pushing the engineer out of the chair. "Scan my thumb. I am the creator. I built this company." He slammed his thumb onto the glowing blue scanner pad. The room went silent as the system processed the print. Then the screen flashed a giant angry red. "Access denied. Unauthorized user." The engineer looked down at the floor, afraid to make eye contact. "Sir, with all due respect, you didn't write the core code. Sarah did. She is the only super admin in the system. When you fired her yesterday, the system detected that the creator was removed, so it locked down to protect itself. Without her thumbprint, this entire building is just a pile of useless metal." Mark froze. The noise of the chaos around him seemed to fade away. He realized that the boring wife he had kicked out 24 hours ago was unjust an employee. She was the key, and he had just thrown the key away. Mark pulled out his phone with shaking hands. He dialed Sarah's number, praying she would answer. On the first ring, she picked up. The background noise wasn't the sound of a panic attack. It was the sound of seagulls and ocean waves. She was sitting on a beach, miles away from the disaster. "Sarah," Mark screamed into the phone, "thank God. You have to come back right now. The system is down. The dead man's switch triggered. We are losing everything." Sarah's voice was calm and smooth, like ice. "I'm sorry, Mark. I would love to help, but I can't. I am technically not an employee anymore. You fired me yesterday, remember? I'm just a useless ex-wife enjoying her vacation. I'm sorry," Mark begged, watching his stock price crash to zero on the screens above him. "I made a mistake. I'll hire you back. I'll give you a raise. Just come press the button. I don't want a job," Sarah said, "but I am available for freelance consulting. My fee for emergency technical support is $500 million. Wired upfront." Mark gagged. $500 million. "That's half the company. Take it or leave it," Sarah said. "You have 30 seconds before the database deletes itself permanently." Mark had no choice. With tears in his eyes, he authorized the transfer. He sent half his fortune to the woman he called boring, just to get his company back online. Sarah confirmed the payment, logged in remotely from her phone, and unlocked the system in 2 seconds. Mark saved his company, but he learned a painful lesson. Be nice to the quiet ones. They usually hold the keys to the castle.